Hey everybody, welcome back to the kitchen. I'm Jo Michaels, the baking author, and today we're making beef stew. This is a really long process, so you want to start it in the morning. And I just have a chuck roast. I have preheated my oven to 250. Well, I've turned my oven on. It's preheating to 250. You want to keep it nice and low. I'm starting this, it's about 11 o'clock in the morning, so I really want to get going early because it's going to cook all day. So I just have a chuck roast. You can use any kind of roast that you want, except London broil, which is not really a roast. It's not meant to be cooked this way. Maybe one day I'll give you guys that recipe. But that day is not today. What we're going to do is we're going to sear our meat in a cast iron skillet. Now if you don't have a cast iron or cast iron Dutch oven, if you don't have a cast iron Dutch oven, you can use any kind of Dutch oven, but you want something with a lid so it retains the moisture. The biggest thing about a stew is you kind of want the meat to fall apart, but you also want the vegetables that you add to it to be still in kind of a gravy. So it's not a roast, not a pot roast, it's a stew. So we're going to turn this on about medium-ish and let that get warm. I have my big knife and we're just going to cut this roast into chunks. Make sure that your roast has at least a small piece of fat on the back because that's going to add a lot of flavor as it cooks. I also have about, let's see, it's 5 small cloves of garlic over here, and I'm just going to open those up and toss them in. Now don't worry about how big you cut your meat pieces. They don't need to be huge, but I usually cut them about like that. You're just kind of hacking them apart. One thing I do like to keep on hand all the time is Lipton onion soup mix. It's amazing. I put it in a lot of things. And for this one I'm using the Beefy variety. Now you don't have to use the Lipton onion soup mix. You can kind of make it from scratch, but hey, let's be lazy. The seasonings that I'm going to use, if you like other flavors, if you prefer rosemary over thyme, go for it. It's your stew, you do you. The reason that the size of this doesn't matter is because when it cooks down, it's going to get stupid tender and it's going to kind of fall apart. So I'm not too worried about it. The reason that I'm heating my pan is to sear the seasonings I'm about to put on this meat in and add a little bit of flavor to my gravy in there. Normally I would use the brown gravy mix, but I don't have any. So I'm going to show you how to make it today. Have some kind of alcohol. Alcohol really cooks off, but it does do a really good job of tenderizing your meat. So wine, whiskey, tequila, rum, not really rum as spice, but the things with the smaller flavors. So I'm just going to spread this meat out now, and I'm just going to start seasoning it with my favorite seasonings. Again, yours may be different. Make sure that you use salt and pepper, please, because salt and pepper are everything. So I just kind of see big chunks of meat. There's no one particular size. It's all good. I'm just going to rinse my hands and then we'll get to seasoning the meat up. Okay, clean hands. My pan is not yet hot, which is good. So I just have some pepper. I'm going to pepper one side. This is before I flip them over. It's a small pepper mill, so it takes a lot more grinding than a larger pepper mill would. Make sure my hands are super dry before I put them in my salt. And I'm just going to sprinkle these liberally with salt because not only are you seasoning your meat, you're also seasoning your gravy. This is going all over my stove. That's fantastic. I am going to add a little crushed red pepper, but I'm going to add that to the gravy. I don't really want to sear it into the meat. I really do prefer to use a beer when I do this, but I don't think we have any. I can go check. So after I put this on, I will go and have a look-see. The beer causes a gorgeous reaction with those spices. It's just lovely. So give me just a second. I was right, no beer in the house, but I do have wine, so we're going to go with that. I'm just going to flip these over not to touch them too much with my other hand. I can feel my pan getting hot over here. This is going to be the fastest gravy you've ever made in your life. Once we toss these in, we're going to let them sear, not mess with them, just to brown the outside and give us some yummy yummies on the pan. Let me rinse this hand. Okay, no soap that time because I'm not really digging into things with that hand. My pan is getting really hot. This is the Tony's sachets that I've shown you guys on this channel before. It's kind of the Cajun's everything seasoning, so we put it on everything. Everything. It's like ambrosia, Tony sachets. And you can find this in no salt, less salt, and more spice varieties. So now I'm just going to put a little salt on these. And pepper usually makes me sneeze, so if I sneeze, forgive me. Again, I'm being pretty generous with the salt. Here we go. My pan is now really hot. I usually season my cast iron with grapeseed oil, so it can get a little hotter than some other oils. The smoke point isn't quite as high, or the smoke point is a whole lot higher, unlike olive oil. And I'm just rolling these around the seasonings that are left on my board here. Woo! That's lovely here. I'm just tossing these bad boys in. This is a quick, easy dinner for your family. If you need to start in the morning, you can finish it at night. It doesn't take long. I'm not really sure what vegetables I'm going to add to this. Probably carrots, maybe some potatoes, green beans possibly. I don't know. I'll figure it out, see what I have in my fridge, and we'll go from there. Again, if you don't like any of these things, you do you. I really like that onion flavor out of the Lipton onion soup mix, though. It makes life grand. Alright, now I'm just going to put my garlic on my board, take it off here, and then crack my garlic. I'll be right back. Didn't want to break my cooktop. So as you can see, the garlic just kind of fell out. I'm not going to put that in my pan just yet. I'm going to leave it sitting right here on my board. It doesn't matter that it's in the meat juice. It's all going in that oven. It'll all be cooked again. Didn't smack that one quite hard enough. It's still got paper all over it. Ew. I did that backward. Of course I did. Now I'm going to grab a spoon. I did that backward too. Now I'm going to grab a spoon. Get ready to give this stuff a little stir. Just going to stir it real quick. The handles are already starting to get hot, but I can see little pieces. Ew, garlic paper. I can see little pieces of the meat sticking to the bottom, which is great. So just going to toss that around just a bit. Now we're going to get to making our little gravy mix. I'm going to pour in 1 packet of this. And like I said before, if you want to use the brown gravy mix, you can, but we're just going to kind of do ours from scratch. If you don't have it or you can't find it, these do not really tear very well, so I cut them. Put that in there. This also has a bit of beef broth in it, so it makes it just a little beefier. Just a smidge of salt. Some of that red pepper flake. For a little heat. This is liquid smoke. It does not take a lot. A couple of dashes. I'm going to 86 the pepper this time because I'm just going to do the Tony's. It has cayenne and all that good stuff in it. Now for the liquid that I'm going to add to this, I'm going to add a little bit of water, some of this wine. and some thyme. Don't spill it because thyme is a terrible thing to waste. Coffee. I know it sounds crazy, but coffee in here is just amazeballs. Oh, I also put some chili powder. Chili powder. Love it. And just a little bit, probably about a teaspoon of chili powder. Yum. You can also throw some cumin in here. I find that works a lot better with the pork roast though. So, totally up to you and your taste. I like cumin and pork. Cumin and beef, it's alright. And when I make this, even though you just saw me put, let me see how many pounds that is. 2.5 pounds of meat in there, there will be none left after dinner because my family devours it all. It is so delicious. I'm going to add some water. Grab me a spoon. And just give that a mix around. And of course the coffee's going to add some extra liquid to this, so I'm not too worried about it. The Lipton onion soup mix is not going to thicken things up at all. It's just for flavoring. If you don't have it, use some dried onion and some beef stock. Speaking of beef stock. Or sorry, beef bouillon. Yes, beef bouillon. All right, to make our little gravy in here, we're gonna grab some flour. We're just gonna dust it over this meat. It's probably gonna take about 2 tablespoons. And don't worry about spreading it out so much. I mean, it's not really that important. Look, I'm banging again. Y'all yell at me. Not supposed to be banging. My husband hates it when I bang around, so, like, hates it. All right, we're gonna give this a stir. Cook some of the flouriness out of the flour. Now, I haven't added any liquid to this yet. Keep that in mind. It does have some seasonings. And I'm just gonna cook that flour for a minute and let it soak up some of that beef flavor we have going on in our pot. Not going to add butter or oil or any of that stuff. Just let it be. I already put my wine in there. Got my coffee ready. Sometimes I do end up adding a little bit of extra water. It just depends on the consistency. All right. It should look like that. It's just kind of brown, and it should stick to your spoon a little bit. But you've cooked out that flour flavor, so you shouldn't really have that going on. This is about 2 cups of coffee. And I'm going to jack that heat up on high to bring that to a boil. I'm going to need my oven mitts. That pan is already starting to get hot. I'm just going to put these spices away while I wait for this to come to a boil. Okay, we're boiling. I'm just going to give it a nice stir around. My flour is brown in there. This will kind of help wash some of that flour off. And yes, I'm splashing everywhere, but that's okay. Everything's cleanable. No reason to get all bajiggity. And that flour will thicken that up so nicely. It's already starting to get thick. Let me show you the consistency of the gravy that's happening in here right now. Remember, this is going to cook down a lot. So this is the consistency of the gravy right now. Still a little thin, but it will thicken as time goes on. Because I am going to pop this in the oven. Going to add some beef broth. Not a lot, just about a half a cup, and that was cold. Right out the fridge. My Hand is on fire. But I don't want to put anything in here with the meat. Hold that thought. Okay, now we're at like a full rolling boil. That's what I like to see. Kind of scraping the bottom of the pot as I do this too, just to get those nice beef bits off there. Now I'm going to throw in my garlic. And that should start to cook up really quickly. The smell is fantastic. It smells like a beautiful beef stew. Alright, most of that flour has worked its way into the liquid that's in there. So I'm going to stir this one more time just to get all the little goody bits off the bottom, and then pour it right into my pot. Gonna bring this to a boil, pop the lid on, and throw it in the oven. I'm going to roast this until, gosh, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock maybe? Probably 4 o'clock on 250. And then at 4 o'clock I will raise the temperature. I'll be back with you to walk you through that. Raise the temperature, take it out, add my vegetables, and cook it the rest of the time it needs to cook. Just to a boil. I want to make sure all those meat pieces are down in that juice. I'm going to take a picture so I can show you guys what's in the pot. Okay, your pot should look something like this. And then once that comes to a boil, just pop it in the oven, shut the door, walk away, and forget it. This will reduce a lot. I'll show you whenever I come back. It's amazing. I don't feel like I need to stir it again, so it's bubbling. I'm going to put my oven mitts on because, like I said, the handles were already getting hot. So I'm going to open the oven. Ugh. Pop this in there. And we're done. And I will be back with you guys around 3 or 4 o'clock to show you how to finish that off. Okay? See you then. Bye. Hey guys, I'm back. I just took my stew out of the oven and I'm going to show you guys what it looks like because it's amazing. Ah, we have this nice, not too thick, not too thin gravy, like so. It's got some real meat to it. And then those pieces of beef are just falling apart. Let me show you what I mean. See that? And they just tear apart just like that. That's what you're looking for right there. Okay. I'm just going to take a couple of these and cut them apart. Then I'm going to taste it for salt because that's what I do. That's what you should do too. Always taste your food. That's why they say never trust a thin chef, especially a thin pastry chef, right? Totally kidding. But I mean, that is the saying, right? Never trust a thin chef. That's why. Anyway. I think I have most of these kind of broken up now. I do. Now I'm going to rummage to see what else I want to add to this. It's probably going to be carrots and maybe some corn and possibly some potatoes. So let me taste. That's actually plenty of salt. And it will still be plenty of salt once I get the potatoes and everything in there. It's got a nice kick to it from those peppers too. Got some of that fat from the beef. Alright, I'm not going to go on and on. Let me grab my veggies and I will be right back with you guys. Okay, I'm back. I have decided on canned green beans, canned corn, some fresh baby carrots, and a couple of green onions that I found hanging out in the fridge. So I'm just gonna slice the little baby carrots into like rounds because I don't really like them in big pieces in my stew. In my roast, that's fine, but not in my stew. I like to be able to get a bite on a spoon. And it's just, I'm just cutting them about 1/2 inch or so. And these are refrigerated, so once I put them in there, they're going to drop the temperature of that liquid. The green beans I will not add until right before I serve this puppy. But now I'm going to turn my oven up to 325 to help cook these veggies, especially the carrots. And if I use fresh potatoes, I like to put them in about an hour before I take this out of the oven, and also cut them into similar sized pieces. You don't want big giant chunks of vegetable floating around your beef stew. I know it sounds good, but it's really not awesome. All right, I'm going to get these in here, and I'll be right back. Okay, that was about a cup and a half of little carrot rounds. Now I'm just going to hack these up. It won't take me but a minute. I'm not getting all fancy or anything. Just going to cut them into little pieces. Just taking off the outside. Now, green onions are amazing on the grill, just whole, if you happen to have some hanging around. My husband and I went to a place down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and they had these amazing large bulb green onions they had just popped on the grill and cooked. Oh, to die for. I can't remember the name of the restaurant. It was something like Azul or Aziz or something similar to that. So if you're ever down in Fort Lauderdale and you see a restaurant with a name that starts with an A, Mexican restaurant, go there. They have excellent food. Like I said, I'm not cutting these crazy, just kind of chopping them up a little bit. So I kind of cut the green onions like that. And they're going to try to escape because they don't want to go in my hot pot. You will be assimilated. Yes, you will. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the corn in because it's not going to hurt anything. And it'll just warm through. Now right before I serve this, probably 5 or 10 minutes before, I will throw the green beans in. And they will just heat through. That's really all you're doing there because they're already cooked out of a can. And I'm not adding any more liquid to this. It does not need it. You want it to be thick. Oh, those pieces of garlic are in there. They look really awesome. You have got to see what the inside of this bowl looks like. Doesn't that look yummy? Yeah. So I'm going to pop the lid back on, throw it back into my 325-degree oven for about 45 minutes-ish, maybe a little less. And I will see you guys after that. This is, I got onion on there. This is going to cook down. The meat doesn't really need to be cooked anymore, but we're going to go ahead and cook it. And then, like I said, I'll add the green beans later. But the consistency, as you can see from the photo, is not super thick, but not super thin. It's kind of that in between. That's what we're looking for. If you throw potatoes in here, be sure you add about 1/3 of a cup of water because they're going to soak up a lot of that liquid. The carrots will too, but not a lot of it, just a little. All right, I'm going to pop this in the oven, and I will be back with you guys when I'm ready to throw in the green beans. Hey guys, I'm back, and my stew should be done. I'm going to dump these green beans in there after I get out of the oven. Let's take it out. And because I wear glasses, I cannot see now. It's a heat wave. I'll turn that off. And because I am me, I always leave one of those near my pot lid so I don't accidentally grab it. That looks so good. Now if you're using all vegetables out of cans, you can just cook the meat and then dump those in there and then wait 10 or 15 minutes and serve it up. But since I am only using the green beans, I'm now going to stir this. And if I use fresh ones, put the carrots in first, put it back in for half an hour, take it out, add the green beans, put it back in for another 15-20 minutes. They cook really fast. Alrighty. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but I'm going to kind of hold it up. See that? That is your beef stew. And it's ready to rock and roll. You can serve it in bowls. You can serve it with some of those yummy dinner rolls that I have. Your family will enjoy the heck out of it. I don't want to burn my mouth. I was right on with the salt too. It didn't need any more. I can taste a little bit of that liquid smoke in there. Kind of like that earthy, smoky flavor. But that's it. Alright, make it, feed it to your family. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If not, I'm sorry. We can try again next week, right? And new content every Monday. Come on back. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you already have, awesome. Thank you. I'll see you guys next Monday.